Penny.
And I'm Katheryn.
And welcome to GenXLivingLife. Today we're talking to Katheryn Hartigan. She is the founder of a nonprofit organization called Spectrum Love. We're going to talk about her nonprofit. We're also going to talk about the prevalence of special needs kids and how GenX bore the brunt of an epidemic of special needs and an extra element of caregiving besides caring for your regular average child and aging parents as well. There's also that extra element of a special needs child as well. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to take it away with Katheryn and just let us know a little bit about your background.
Okay, well, I have an education background. I've been in basically the school district for the last 20 years. Early in my educational time, I got pregnant with triplets, and I had triplets at a very early gestation, 28 weeks. So I took some time off because there was a need with them being 1 pound 10 ounces, 1 pound 15 ounces, and 2 pound 3 ounces. So a lot of work, in which we also found out during that time my son was diagnosed with autism, and one of my other girls was diagnosed with a sensory issue, which she greatly grew out of as she grew up. So I was taken out of education for about 13 years as I was doing homeopathic things for my son, as well as therapies, and I wanted to be there and be a part of all of that and get as much of those therapies, utilize them as much as I could. For his success. So then I went back into the school district and decided that I wanted to get into instructional leadership. Started doing some of that, and then was crazy. Decided that I wanted to go get my master's and become a administrator in the school district.
With all your spare time,
With
right?
all my spare time. So I've got a little bit of everything. I'm also a special needs coordinator part-time through the Med Waiver program here in Florida. So I work with a lot of special needs families. And from my experience personally with my son, and also my experience with the special needs community that I service part-time, I grew into wanting to start this nonprofit called Spectrum Love, which is basically a spectrum of disabilities. Everybody needs to be everybody needs to be treated respectfully. Mm-hmm. They need to have positive and safe places for social interactions and being out in the community to hone in on their social skills, give them social skills. So that's what our nonprofit does.
Great.
Nice. Wow. The triplets, that's crazy.
I had 3 sons, and they're staggered. I can't imagine 3 at once.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's still a lot. They're 26, and it's still a lot. They're grown adults, but I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I've got 2 beautiful grandchildren now because of one of my girls, and I'm a grandma. So I wouldn't have it any other way.
You're too young to be a grandma.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously. Seriously. Wow.
So tell us more about how Generation X, which is our age group, we became parents of, it seemed like there was an epidemic, an explosion of special needs children that were born around the 90s. And we, all of a sudden, the community, the medical community, they were not prepared for that.
No, not at all.
And we had to navigate that on our own, grasping at straws and desperate for pretty much any solution there was, even if it was maybe debunked later on by some places. So, in your view, how has that come about, do you think?
I think the majority of it is through Child Find. A lot of Child Find, they were getting the children in there, they were getting them diagnosed. There was more specialized instruments that they were using to find the diagnoses instead of waiting later in life like a lot of the older individuals at that time were. So I think that's why we had a mass amount of not only autism diagnosis, but if you think about the ADHD, OCD, those types of things. If you notice from, the mid to late 90s on, there's been a lot of things. And, not talking about the other things like thimerosal and vaccines and stuff like that. We can take those out of the equation and just say that there was better diagnosis then. And when the diagnosis came up, the school systems weren't prepared. They did not know how to handle it, what to do. And me being in education helped some, and I basically had to pave the way for my son. I did not want my son to sit in a self-contained classroom and basically be babysat all the time. I knew that he was going to make it somehow, and through additional therapies outside of the school district, I also pushed for him to be mainstreamed as much as possible, and also to have a one-on-one personal assistant in the classroom.
That's great.
So there was a lot of advocacy on my part that had to be done, and I was the blind leading the blind, but I just knew as a mother that that's what I wanted and that's what I expected.
Instinctively, yeah.
So I did it, and he graduated high school and went to college and got a degree, and now he's giving back to the community as a special ed paraprofessional
There you
in the
go.
special needs class.
That's a success
Wow.
story right
Yes.
there.
That's amazing.
Very proud.
Yeah.
Wonderful mothering
Yeah.
and advocacy and being there, and it's
Yeah.
when you're able to, you can, sometimes, you're in a position, those are in a position where they have jobs where they really can't get away except for their spare time, or have to take a lot of time off. Sometimes you just can't take the time off, and it's incredibly hard. Then you're relying on professionals that aren't trained in that.
That's why it's very important to read over all of the documents that are sent home before you sign them when it comes with an IUP or anything like that. And you always have that right as a parent to do everything via phone. You don't have to go in person to attend these meetings. So don't be afraid to be involved. Put it in writing, put it in email format,
Right.
and attend a Zoom meeting, conference call. Whatever way you can get involved, get involved. Find an advocate that can go in your place that you can sign and have them there for you to advocate for your
I see.
for
Yeah,
your
if you
Back
can.
in the early days, that was pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
It was just very few, and so there are a lot more resources today
yes.
than there was
I agree with that.
25 years ago.
I was going to say that, yeah, back then they didn't have
But
a lot.
what you look at it too is it's the parents that pave the way to make that happen.
That's true.
So hopefully we're not going to go back into those dark Stone Age of that
Networks,
again.
yeah, networks were created
Yes.
in order for parents to talk to each other.
That is correct.
And compare notes and offer advice and help. We were the blind leading the blind. And whatever little nugget we knew, we tried to pass it on to somebody else
That's correct.
who may not have known that. And even today, it's hard to find a compact place where you can find all the services as well. There's not just
Like a
one
one-stop.
website.
There's not
that
one
you
one-stop.
can
That's
Fine.
part of what our nonprofit is trying to put together so that they can go directly to our website and basically Q&A type of thing. We're working on building on all the resources.
That's great, yeah.
So we're trying to partner with Family Cafe, which is backed by the state, and they are a wealth of information
Oh, okay.
for parents that a lot of parents don't know about. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to take resources that are already out there and then provide links and access to the parents. Like we've gotten information lately about doing your guardian advocacy on your own, filling out the paperwork and just taking it to the courthouse and filing it and not costing you $12, $15,
Yeah.
$100.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that we are that is desperately needed and we are working on
That
it
is
for sure.
wonderful. That is good. So there are resources out there. I know it's a lot of grasping at straws
Yes.
right now, but we were grasping at anything.
Mhm.
There would be 1,000 of us and maybe 10 life preservers. We were
Oh, my
just trying to
goodness.
grasp at whatever,
Yeah.
and
You're
you
like,
know,
Dory, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
yeah,
Right,
anything and
right.
everything, if it was, gluten-free diet
Uh-huh.
all these
Epsom
different-
Tried
salt.
everything,
You tried
yes.
Epsom salt
Well, that
also.
was an accident.
Mhm.
I'll
Yeah.
share a story of that. But trying all kinds of things, those elimination diets,
Mhm.
allergies,
Charcoal.
all kinds of crazy things, medications that were prescribed by psychiatrists that had nothing to do with what they had.
Yeah.
And we're talking major psychiatric
Yeah. Trial and
medicines
error with everything that they were doing.
Yeah,
on-
just try it.
on a
yeah.
first, second grader.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that was difficult, you know, and if you know anything about psychiatric medications, you have to be careful taking them off of that.
Right.
And here's the Epsom salt story.
Mhm, yeah.
I took Kenny off of, you know, these medications. And then as it was leaving his system over time, he started to act calm and normal and everything. And then when it finally left his system, oh my gosh, it was like the mother load of meltdowns.
Oh, well,
Mm.
And normally a bubble bath or whatever, playing with toys would help. And I found an old carton of Epsom salt and I just dumped it in there. And he was in the bathtub for about maybe 20 minutes. He came out of there so docile. He grabbed a little
Mhm.
storybook, sat next to me, opened the book on my lap, and just waited for me to read to him. He had never been calm enough to ever to do that
Wow.
or sit still. And so that was his detox out of that medicine, and it was calming him down. And he knew what it was. That was the thing.
Oh, he
and
could
he
tell.
couldn't articulate yet. He
Mhm.
Right.
couldn't talk yet.
Yeah.
And he was in the 3rd grade at that point. So he would just, I was never without Epsom salt. And that took about a year
Mm-hmm.
until he realized he didn't need it anymore.
Mm.
And he didn't need it anymore.
And he could verbalize to
Mhm.
you.
Yeah,
that-
and then when he started
Right.
to talk all of a sudden, of course, he's not completely fluent, but he can communicate enough.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
As Katheryn is my son's support coordinator, and he has come a long way.
Yes, yes.
But it's trial and error,
Yeah.
and it's difficult.
Yeah, I remember when you told me that story, I was on the phone with you and I was like, wow, that's great that worked. I was really surprised. And that's why I still remembered it. It was many, many years ago.
That was a
yeah.
happy accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was many years ago.
So, yeah, that's, but allergies are also were a big thing that were coming up in the 90s. Peanut allergies and a lot of intolerance for gluten.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
things like that had started to come up. Celiac disease. People
Mhm.
didn't
So
know what
many
celiac
things.
disease when we
Yeah.
were growing up. We didn't know
It's
what
a
that
lot
was.
of the, all of a sudden, boof, they've got
Mhm.
ways to test for this stuff.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was the extra burden of a Gen X parent
Mhm.
to find ways to eliminate all of that, and
Yeah.
also
And
having
advocate.
to adjust
Mhm.
the rest of the family.
Mhm.
And
That's true.
back in the early days, I'm sorry, gluten-free products were nasty.
Oh, yeah, they've come a long
They were
way.
disgusting. They've come a long way, but in the beginning, they were terrible. But you know, a lot of these, you know, not only was you can go as far as having a rash to having an anaphylactic
Mhm.
shock.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
dying.
Badly. Yeah.
You know, so
Mhm.
but you don't know it's going to happen till it happens.
Right.
Mhm.
And then you had the first time it happens, I imagine it's
Yeah.
Very scary.
Yeah, and sometimes each exposure is exponential. Like with
Right.
peanuts, you can get worse and worse. Like today, you might be okay, but 10 exposures later, it could be anaphylaxis.
exactly.
You know, so people are like, oh, there's just a little bit, it's okay, but it's really not.
No,
You know, people
no.
don't realize.
Everybody's body reacts differently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's a matter of
Yeah.
even just touching it,
Mhm.
not it?
Mhm.
Yeah, or and some people, if it's in the air, they can be affected too,
Exactly.
which is a bit scary. Yeah,
So it's a very,
contamination. You know.
so it, you know, it was a minefield
Mm-hmm.
back in those days to navigate a special needs child,
Mhm.
special needs family. And on top of that, as they were getting older, so are your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
And then so they went from being your helper, because my parents helped a lot,
Mm-hmm.
to
Mhm.
now being the ones that need help.
Need help.
Yeah.
The baby boomers.
The baby boomers,
Mhm.
or the silent generation in
Mhm.
my case.
Yep.
Because, you know, I have super seniors at home. They're over 90.
Great.
Okay.
Wow, it's
Yeah.
amazing. A lot of longevity there. It's great.
70s.
Mm.
70s, 80s, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's, it can become challenging, but we're a family and we help each other, and there are, families out there that are on their own.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
that's
they
very hard.
struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard.
They don't have a backup at all, they don't
Mhm.
get a break,
Mm-hmm.
and we know about you,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
our heart breaks, because we know it's hard for us, we know it's gotta be 10 times harder doing it on your own.
So I want to ask, do you guys have any PTSD from, you know, having your kids go through all this and yourselves going through all this, you know, these things, trying to find a solution.
Yeah, I know I do, because I remember my son at the time, before he became verbal, he went through these serious meltdowns and he tried to escape from the house. And sometimes he would escape when we weren't looking, and we would just go crazy trying to find him. And, you know, we live close to a busy street, and he would just go running, you know, without looking at traffic or anything, because he was small and he was fast. And I'm not, you know, not only that, but you're trying to figure out which direction he went as fast as he went. And fortunately, some neighbors, you know, would find him and would catch him and bring him back or whatever. But, you know, we had the fence that we have around there, I had to have a tall fence put up. And I also had to have a lock from the inside and the outside. And I also had the deadbolt with the key. You know, have some deadbolts, you have the key on the outside, and then the turn thing on the inside. Both sides are
Both
keyed
sides are keyed.
to keep them from getting out of the house. That is still something that when you are on 24 hours a day, just about, plus having two other children, plus having a demanding job, and working, and it's incredibly stressful. And I'm still, he's not that way anymore, but I find that I tune out. At the end of the day, I just sit in front of the TV and I just doom scroll through the TV. And that's all I do, because if I'm still, it'll go through my head.
You're right.
And I'll relive. And my mom goes through that right now. She'll actually hallucinate that he's running away or running off in her dreams, and she gets up in the middle of the night to look
Oh my
for him.
gosh, that is
goodness.
You know, and she's in her 90s, and she still goes through that. And he'll be 25 this month. So this is from childhood, and that carries over. It's deep. It is deep. I mean, I don't think I can pair this with a soldier that's seen combat.
It's a different type. It's a different type.
Different type. It's traumatic.
It's constant too, and it's not just a PTSD thing. It's a mental thing. You know, you've got a lot of guilt. You've got a lot of fear. I'm a grandma now. I'm a gra, and you know, I start looking at my grandchildren, and I'm sitting there and like looking at them with a fine-tooth comb, thinking, oh my gosh, well, this is something that my son used to do. Oh my gosh, are they on the spectrum? Oh my gosh, this is something that my son used to say. Or my son used to handle a car, or play car a certain way, and line it up a certain way. And in my mind, I'm just sitting there
reliving
what my son went through. And I feel a lot of guilt too. You know, I think about, okay, I had triplets. They came early. What could I have as a mom done any differently to make life even a little bit more better for my son?
Right.
He is thriving and he is high functioning now, but I still think about those moments like shoulda, woulda, coulda. And it really gets in your brain and it gets in your mind. So I think I feel that I fill those spots with constantly staying busy, which then turns into constantly being tired, which turns into not getting any rest, which then turns into affecting my health. So there's a lot of things.
I was just like you. I would fill my time trying to do side gigs.
Right.
You know, I helped volunteer with an autism, and that burned me out deeply. But it was just it was like almost like having another full-time job. And then the last housing crisis back in 2011, 2012, where all the foreclosures. My husband and I created a business, and we cleaned out houses that were foreclosed on, and we did that in our spare time, and we filled our time with all of this busyness,
right?
You know, and we also incorporated our son to help, because he's very helpful, to give them some skills and everything, and the boys, so that way they're not afraid of hard work. So, but we tried to instill in that, but we were always busy, until now I finally had reached burnout, really bad, really bad, and now it's just zoning out. A
Mm-hmm.
matter of just, I can't do it anymore. It's almost, I'm tired. I'm just tired.
Right.
It's carrying all that for years and years,
Mhm.
and I'm fatigued.
Very weary.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing that'll get rid of it. It seems
No.
like.
It's not. It's ingrained in us as moms.
Yeah.
And it's something I would never go back and change my life or his life, but our mind plays tricks on us a lot of times about what if. You know, what if, rewind, what if,
What
rewind.
if we did this instead? What
Correct.
if we did that instead?
And it's constant. It's constantly on your mind. It's
Yeah.
constantly on your heart. And it's exhausting. Your
It is
mind never
exhausting.
shuts off.
Right.
Never.
Yeah, but you guys are doing the right thing. You're directing your energy towards something productive, you know, that'll help other people as well.
Yes.
So,
If we can help
Mhm.
any family from
Yeah.
what we've went through,
Or
it's worth it. Yeah.
know that is normal.
Right.
It
Yeah,
feels
that's right.
abnormal,
Right.
but it is.
And you
it is-
can't beat yourself up over
Yeah.
it. You
You
can't.
can't. You know.
Yeah.
You just have to. You know, just go forward. You know, and take one day at a time. Do the
Mhm.
best that you can.
Build a support system.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And if you can seek help, seek help.
Yes.
But yeah, it's hard. We know it's long lasting.
Yes.
We'll probably have it for our whole lives.
yeah.
We will.
Like your mom in her
Mhm.
90s, she's still.
Mhm.
That's crazy. that's,
Mhm.
that's really rough, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Mhm.
You know, even my older boys said it's like they saw how rough it is
Mhm.
with him. They reconsidering having kids
Yeah.
because
Wow.
it's like we've already been through that.
There's
It's
the
trauma
risk.
to them
Yeah.
as well.
It's
The other
traumatizing.
siblings in the household.
Mhm.
Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
So it's hard on not just moms but siblings, the
Because
father,
they're seeing what
Mhm.
happens.
grandparents, even friends that are
That's
on the
right.
outside looking in.
And
they're
we're
like
not-
they don't know how we do it.
Mhm.
They ask us all the time, how do we do it?
Mhm.
We don't know.
And we're not the norm because normally marriages don't survive through
That's
stuff
true.
like this.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're both still happily married.
Happily married.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we have our families. Our families are close, but that's
Gratefully,
not
yes.
that's not the norm right now because usually the moms end up alone.
Mhm.
The dad is either in denial or has just had enough and
Or just can't
Don't-
cope.
can't
They
cope.
cope.
with it,
I mean, I
yeah.
know there are some great dads out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that the majority of the time that I've spoke with parents, it ends
Yeah.
up it all falls on the mom.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, it's a
always,
lot.
always. And
Yeah.
you know, it's hard. You know, no matter what, the teachers are going to go to the mom.
yes,
Yeah, everybody's going to go to the
Mhm.
mom. You know, it's always the mom.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
dads, they do what they can.
Mhm.
But there's some dads that are just like,
They don't know what to
Mhm.
do
they don't know what to
sometimes.
do.
Yeah.
They're
they need
lost.
that support system as well.
Yeah, and it's too much for them.
Yes.
And you know, we can't say we understand,
Right.
Because you know we're not fathers, but
Mhm.
you know it's hard on everybody.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's that PTSD.
It's real.
That's real.
Very
That's
real.
And
Seek
Mhm.
help sooner
Yeah.
than later. You know,
Right.
I'm 50 this year, and I waited this long for me to tell myself that I needed to seek some of that help, and it is helping. It's a great outlet for me, and I'm learning some things about me and how to cope and how to manage. So I highly recommend it for the moms out there. Don't look at the stigmatism about it. Get the support, get the help that you need.
it's not selfish.
No, not at all.
Don't think it's selfish. You know, your child needs you,
Yes.
and you need to do the best to take care of yourself as well.
Mhm.
And
Definitely.
you know, I speak for the three of us
Yes.
that you know we understand, and we hope that one day that you can reach out, maybe leave a comment, let us know what your story is,
Mhm.
and leave us a like and subscribe, and we'll have more conversations like this in the future
Yes.
as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, Gen X, we paved the way for the families, hopefully, to have an easier time to catch
Yes.
this situation
Yes.
sooner with their kids and find the resources that
Mhm.
they need. And so we will leave some information in the description box below as well. So anyway, we appreciate you joining us.
Yes, we do.
And we hope you join us again next time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Katheryn.